So you have an hour and a half deep massage. I mean, you will walk out looking like a new girl, boy. I mean, sorry. But no, it's quite. I mean, people who do it. Brad had that treatment, and he said, he felt like a different person afterwards because the scrubbing is wonderful.
He looked good.
He looked good. I mean, you should have seen him before.
Meet Palle Bo, a full-time traveler and digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. At the age of 50, he made a bold decision. He sold everything. His house, his car, his furniture, and set out on a quest to visit every country in the world, documenting everything along the way. This is The Radio Vagabond.
Hi guys. Before the next season of The Radio Vagabond, I'm going to give you a special episode from a unique luxury place in Bali. What you're about to hear is something that was recorded a year ago. I've kept it on the shelf because of the COVID pandemic, but now with the vaccines on the way and people starting to think about traveling again, I feel it's time to give you some inspiration for a super special vacation in Bali. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I was invited to stay here for a few days because of this podcast, and obviously in the hope that I might inspire you guys to visit them. But as always, when I do those trips and visits like this, I'm not obligated to say anything that I don't mean. Everything I say is my own genuine opinion. I'm basically just describing the place and my own experience. Let me set up how this came to be. A few months earlier, I was at the World Travel Market in London. This is a huge travel fair where the world's destinations, hotels, airlines, and anyone else working in the travel industry show what they're doing and make deals. I was there walking around with a press badge with my name on it, and when I came to the Indonesia stand, a guy behind a table started speaking Danish to me. As you know, I have a very Danish name, and he guessed that I was a fellow countryman. John Nielsen is his name, and he's the manager of Fivelements Bali Retreat. I told him that I actually would be in Bali a few months later, and he asked me to get in touch so we could organize a visit. He showed me a brochure. He showed me a brochure and a few videos of the place on his laptop. He also showed me a small video of a young couple sitting at a ceremony around a fire, and the guy proposed to the girl. Not that I was planning to propose to anyone anytime soon, but it looked very idyllic and beautiful, and I just had to accept his offer. So, fast forward a few months, I see him again at Fivelements in Bali, and this time I'm bringing a microphone. My name is Palle Bo. Join me as I experience more luxury than I'm used to in this episode of The Radio Vagabond.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
Nestled on the banks of the Ayung River in the center of Bali, not that far away from Ubud, Fivelements Bali Retreat is a multi-award-winning eco-conscious wellness retreat. It's deeply rooted in the ancient traditions of Bali, and that's a part of why it's a peaceful sanctuary to embrace authentic Balinese healing, plant-based cuisine, and sacred arts. Fivelements Bali Retreat opened in 2010 as the company's flagship wellness destination, bridging the wisdom of traditional healing cultures with innovative wellness concepts. Getting to the place, I was driving through a small, authentic village with narrow streets and tiny, not so fancy houses. So that made the contrast to what I faced inside the retreat even greater. I know that I say this a lot in the podcast, but this time it's even more important that you take a look at the blog post for this episode. I will try to explain what I see as best I can, but on theradiovagabond.com you can see both pictures and videos of this place. It's truly amazing what I'm about to experience in the next few days. At the reception, I meet hotel manager John Nielsen again. He takes me for a walk around the resort. It's a very green area. You almost feel like you're in the jungle, with small, curved pathways leading through the area with a lot of grass-roofed huts and houses. I hear the soothing sound of the river running through the area, the birds and the jungle-like forest, and occasionally the sound of a bell and a crackling fire where people are meditating, practicing mindfulness, or having a traditional fire ceremony. Here's John explaining what that's about.
They put the fire on, and then you start burning incense, and you start putting oil into the fire, and they sing.
That's something that's being done every day.
So, well, we do it with couples. We do it every full moon, of course. That's the traditional, the day before full moon. So that's the traditional thing. But we do this with couples. We do it with people who book it for a group of 10 people. So we're one of the few ones who do it actually in Bali. That tradition is not so much played anymore.
And the tradition is called
Agni Hotra. A-G-N-I, and then Hotra, H-O-T-R-A. Yeah. And basically translated, it's sort of fire ceremony. So I'm one of the few people that have a priest on my payroll. So I have a priest, and Pak Nyoman lives here. We call him Pak Kunda, because Kunda is actually the fire aspect of this. You know, it's a fun sort of way of doing it. So people sit around, and everybody during the ceremony, you get I'm wearing a number of these sort of cloth, you know, I mean, they're basically around my wrist. And everybody who attends a ceremony, they get them. So that's part of it, and he blesses them. And I mean, we always sort of, in Australia, we joke a bit about it, but I gave it to my son because red was a good year for him, so I gave him, and then he ended up getting a job, and he was like, well, it's coincidental that I got this. So I get this.
Well, when we met in the World Travel Market in London, you showed me a video of a young couple where the guy proposed. Was that here?
That was here.
Right here.
Sitting right here. Yeah. And we set it all up, and so we do that on a semi-regular basis, that people will inquire and say, and again, they're not getting married under Hinduism. What they're doing is that they're showing their love and appreciation for each other. And that's what we're ultimately about. And that's what we talk about here. Heal, connect, inspire is one of our sort of slogans. Because ultimately it's all about, you know, working together. And you know, we run a lot of retreats. And ultimately it's all about that inspiration that people get. And you know, we have a lot of customers who come here and who've gone through divorce or who've gone through various more traumas, and they come here to basically kind of rethink about their life. And a lot of them will go through this. They'll go through either the fire ceremony or the water ceremony. So the healing ceremony is where they're basically you throw water on them through the priest, and it's a form of healing. So it's kind of unique in that sense.
Right next to the fireplace is what they call the sacred space. It was actually the plan to build a reception right here, but then they discovered, almost by coincidence, that there was something weird going on in this place.
So this spot here we're standing at is called the sacred space. And the sacred space, in the world you have basically magnets. So we all know that there are magnetic forces in the world, and magnetic forces have a variety of impacts. So there are companies that make bed sheets and beds and shoes that have magnets inside. And basically when they constructed this place, this is one of the things that they didn't know was here. And so this was a big green space. And so originally the reception was going to be where we're standing. Wow. And when they then started, when Keturatana, the architect, a Balinese architect, he started doing investigations, they came to this strange conclusion. They said there's all these lines when they looked at the land, and they couldn't quite figure out what it was. And then they started doing investigations. And every year we have architectural students coming from Jakarta, and one of the spaces they come to, they sit here. I had a niece out of Denmark who actually came. And I told the same story to them, and I said to them, if you have a necklace and you stand above that, and you put the necklace down, then the necklace will start spinning. And she goes, yeah, whatever. But her two girlfriends, one of them said, no, I believe a lot in that spirit. And so they did, and suddenly, of course, the necklace was spinning, and they stood there in amazement. And I said, no, this is a fact of life here. And a lot of yoga people will come, and what you notice there's 8 stones or 10 stones.
Let's just describe it. It's a round grass circle, and
each stone is...
There's some stones
correct.
Around
big
the
stones.
corners.
What you notice is, feel free to walk, just take your shoes off. What you notice is that each stone is actually warmer than the stones on the other side. And this is again to do with the forces of magnetics that are in the soil. I mean, we know globally that magnets are a part of life. So we say to people when they come here, if they do meditation or do yoga, be very careful at certain times doing it, because it becomes excessively hot in this place. And so you, even now, if you put your hands or your feet on the stones, you will notice they're warm. But hang on, it's overcast. There's no sun. There hasn't been sun for a few hours. But these stones keep the heat, and it comes from below. And if you sit at the center point, the centrifuge, you will feel...
what's the round thing there? Is that wood or...
It's
also?
wood. Yeah. It's wood. But what you will feel is that that's the center point where the magnetic forces come from. So a lot of people will sit there, and they will say they can feel that force coming through their body. And that's really what it's all about. So a lot of people come here in the morning, they do yoga, or they'll do meditation. So a lot of people will use space. And we say to people here, Hinduism ultimately is a very open religion. It's not about Hinduism or Catholic. This is for anybody. And that's kind of the philosophy of Five Elements. It's not about a religious philosophy. It's about an open-ended philosophy that says it's a welcoming philosophy. So whatever your beliefs are, come. I don't mind. We don't say you have to have this belief here, because right behind us is what's called the Agnihotra, and Agnihotra is a classic North Indian Hinduism fire ceremony. And here we basically get people every full moon. We get 60, 70 people who sit through the fire ceremony. And basically they sit and chant, and it's metaphorically you are getting rid of a lot of the bad omens in your body, and you throw them into the fire. So it's quite fascinating in terms of, and I mean, we have people here getting married, people get engaged, and they do it at the fireplace.
And you mentioned that there was the original plan to have the reception here.
That was the original plan, and then they realized, well, hang on, you can't do that.
No.
Because you're then building on magnetic forces, and also it changes the dynamics. So
Thank God somebody found out.
Well, very smart.
So strange things happen here. The rocks get warm, even on a cloudy day. Metal has seemed to be spinning on rocks, and some people feel a sensation when they're meditating here. Partly rooted in the Hindu way of life.
Yeah, there definitely is something. I mean, there's clearly. I mean, I see with a lot of people when I do with the necklace. You see the necklace is spinning around, and it depends also what silver or what gold or what the necklace is, of course, because there'll be a weight factor.
As a growing up as a non-Hindu, what does that do to your way of thinking?
No, it doesn't. Look, it's probably hasn't
Are you
changed.
turning Hindu?
No, not at all. It hasn't changed so much in my life. I mean, I've always believed. I was a choir boy when I was a little boy in Copenhagen, so that was in the English church as a choir boy, so that was my sort of entry into that. But I've always believed in balance, and that's one of my strong beliefs. I mean, I'm not a vegan or anything like that, but I believe in having a strong balance in life, and so I believe strongly. I mean, I am with the students, the staff here when they pray. I go to a lot of the ceremonies with them. So I think it's also about respect, and saying have respect for what the staff do. And we have, as you may know in Bali, I mean, they have ceremonies every other day. And so there's always a good day for something and a good day for something else. And I go with that flow very easily. It doesn't worry me at all. I wear the Balinese costumes, traditional costumes, and I go with them to the various ceremonies. And I actually enjoy it because it's a nice way to get to understand the staff. And they tell you, how to put your hands and where to put them up your head. And every day you'll see the staff right behind you. You've got a small temple. And the staff will come here. Every morning they come here. And they spend 2 minutes, they look up at the temple and they pray.
The ultimate destination for armchair travelers who are looking for inspiration to get out into the real world and let loose their wanderlust. This is the Radio Vagabond.
The other big thing here is that the water is holy. So everything we do, and in the fireplace, in the Agnihotra, they use the water, which is part of the healing journey. So they do healing.
That's a well.
That's a well. Yep,
Right here.
yep. We have a number of wells. We have about 1, 2, 3 or 4 over there. So we have a number of wells. But of course, Bali hasn't had any rain for about 5 months. So we really have only just started with the rain a few weeks ago.
And now you can set your clock after it's every afternoon.
But it's good because, I mean, for 5 months and having lived for so many years of my life in Australia, I am used to drought. I mean, it's something that we are living with on a day-to-day basis. So we started using the river to actually water the gardens. So we filtrate them, and then we would use the water, because it got to a point where you're going, well, where are you going to get the water from? And you don't want to take, I mean, I don't like taking from a well to water a garden. It doesn't seem fair to the natural resources. So you're better taking from, and I would say to the staff, let's go and borrow some water. And they would say to me, what do you mean borrowing water? And I say, well, you take the water from where it goes into the ground, and then it goes up to the heavens, and then it comes down again. It's a total recycling. And they would all say, oh, okay, now I get it.
We move on from the sacred space and down a small pathway. On our left hand is the award-winning Sakti dining room, based on a farm-to-table philosophy. Here they serve a plant-based menu that's prepared with love, passion, and attention to detail. The menu is designed to give optimal plant-based nutrition with high energy and at the same time inspiring a gastronomical journey aimed to nurture body, mind, and soul. And the food was phenomenal. I'm not a vegetarian, but I must say that I didn't miss the meat. A thing to experience in the restaurant is the signature chef's specialty tasting menus. Not only does it taste good, it also looks fantastic. See pictures of some of the things I had to eat on theradiovagabond.com. It's plant-based, but it's not vegan. Here's John again.
We don't say vegan because we use honey.
Yeah.
And you could technically say that honey is not really as animal. It comes from a bee. Last time I looked,
it's stealing the honey from the bees.
Honey. You good? So, but I mean, plant-based cuisine and vegan is quite similar, of course. Yeah. But on the other hand, it's not that similar. So we're not ultra left or right in terms of veganism, because we've never believed in that philosophy. What we're trying to do is serve food that's healthy.
So not vegan, but the cooking process starts with sourcing the finest local ingredients at the height of the growing season. They support local farmers, sustainable agriculture, and environmentally friendly products. But they also have a small garden themselves. And as I was walking through the area with John, I got to meet the talented Balinese chef. He's senior sous chef Maritantra.
Maritantra.
Yes. Maritantra. You're the chef here.
Yes.
And we're in the garden, and you're picking some stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes we take the foods from the garden, our garden, and then some, of course, from our partner farm in Bedugul. Yeah. This is maybe we have several herbs here, like this one. You see the gotukula. We have moringa there. Good for our gold bladder. Yeah, gold stone. This is kamagi. We call it good for Balinese sauce. And then this is we call jintan. Jintan is good for also for Balinese oil, Balinese sauce. We usually make oil for this. This one, this is a local celery. And then this is the aromatic ginger. And then this one is aloe vera.
Yes.
Aloe vera, you know already. And then this is lemongrass.
Yeah.
This one lemongrass. Yeah.
You can really smell it. It smells so good.
You can smell it. This is very, very good smell.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually it's for curry.
Yeah.
This is in local name. I don't know in English. This is we call it sambung. This is very, very bitter and good for our digestion.
Yes.
Of course, at the beginning, the bitter taste is difficult for everyone, but at the end, it will balance our digestion, balance our body. This is in the pipe flavor of the food, it is the best one,
Yes.
the bitter one.
Yeah.
It's opposite than sweet. Sweet, of course, everyone likes sweet. Everyone like this love, moist, and then. But at the end, when we consume too much, it will be problem with our body. Can be diabetes, can be obesity, something like that. If you consume too much, that's why the key words in the food is how to balance everything. Balance the food, balance the mind, balance the body. That's make we will healthy. Not consume too much. Maybe too much eating is no good. So too much drinking no good. Too much alcohol no good. Too much sleeping is no good. Sleeping is important, but too much also is no good. That's how to balance in like in the food we have acid and alkaline. How to balance between acid and alkaline, something like that.
As I'm standing here chatting with the passionate chef at Fivelements, John interrupts us to introduce me to another chef.
I'm gonna bring in another gentleman who is a very old friend of mine.
His good friend Brad French, who's a renowned chef and cuisine lecturer from Le Cordon Bleu in Australia. Brad is not here to cook, only to relax, have a few massage treatments, get some inspiration from the local food here, and of course visit his old friend and colleague John, that he's worked with in Australia, and see what he's up to here in Bali.
Hi, Brad. And Brad is I still think, one of Australia's great chefs. And Brad, well, sometimes. Having worked with Brad for many years, Brad French, he's been in the game and has come up to visit, and has come had plant-based lunch and had a treatment. So
you're just here to visit, not here to cook?
No, definitely not to cook. But no, I teach at Le Cordon Bleu now, and so we've had a very busy year. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break. And when I heard John was up here, I had to come up, and I just had Chef's amazing plant-based lunch. Now I'm a confirmed carnivore, but I can tell you now the flavours and the presentation and everything of the dishes really were you wouldn't know that there was that there wasn't some sort of animal product in there at all. But the presentation I thought was excellent, and the precision of so that's made it very special.
Yeah.
And your treatment, how is that?
Can I say this on? No, it was amazing. It was sorry. But the massage and the body scrub, and then I became a human herbal infusion with lime and orange, lemongrass, ginger, and pandan leaves, just to sort of to cleanse. I'm feeling $1 million now.
Yeah, well, you look great.
Thank you very much. You're very kind of you.
I cannot tell that you're 75.
Oh, thank you very much.
But having that kind of compliment from a fellow chef, that must be so great.
Yes. And I mean, Brad's the beauty of Brad is when he worked for Mieto Donald, who was probably one of Australia's first women cooking queens, and Brad spent many years helping and working for her and her sister, and so has a wonderful philosophy.
Yeah, but I think what I'm loving is how the cuisine is firmly rooted in the valley, or where it is at the moment. Chef's got, as you're standing in front of a garden with so many different flavours and inspiration. I'm very envious, actually.
It's a bit difficult to do in the centre of Melbourne.
Yeah, there would be a little bit in the centre of Melbourne, yeah. But,
you're coming home with new ideas.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
I'll come see you when I come to Melbourne.
Please do.
You are listening to the Radio Vagabond. You can follow Palabo on his Facebook page. Join the conversation about traveling and being a digital nomad. You can also see pictures, videos, and stories that don't necessarily make it into the podcast. Simply search for the Radio Vagabond.
They started with 9 eco-luxury sleeping suites, independent villas along Bali's sacred Ayung River. These suites feature lofty, grass-roofed ceilings, breezy interiors, and recycled timber flooring. Each suite features both an indoor and an outdoor bathroom with an open-air rain shower and a private riverside bathtub. hand-carved from a single stone. Just at the time of my visit, they were finishing 11 more sleeping suites, so they now have 20 in total. In fact, I was the first to sleep in my suite. We walked to the suite to get settled in, as John tells me about them.
2 weeks ago, we literally finished all the new suites. That is what you are now going to enter. So they're a bit more modern. So there's a well that sits here, and so again you see the small temples. So this is part of Balinese tradition. Every place has it. That you have these temples where people pray and pay homage. You'll see on the roof of some of the buildings. So you'll see on the middle of the roof there's again an offering. And so when we open the place, we put the offerings on every roof. So it's a traditional thing that you do.
But though without incense burning.
Yeah, no. That wouldn't. That might
on the grass roof.
Good way of getting a new roof in 5 minutes. But no. So the old ones were built in a much more bamboo style, where the new ones were built in a more modern way. Again, you've got all the water, and again you've got fish here. So this sort of kind of shows life. We'll go in here.
So how many people can this place accommodate?
So we have 20 rooms. So effectively,
that's not a lot.
No, so it's very small. So it's but I mean before it was only 9 rooms, which was way too small.
So this being room number 122, it's a trick.
No, I mean so we with the other rooms you'll see. They have names. So with these, we're sort of still debating, are we going to call these names? Because you always got to think of practical reservation systems and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a certain amount of names that you can come up with. So all the original rooms, they all have names that relate to the environment, that relate to, water or life or etc. So you'll see those rooms. And they are a bit more traditional, where these are a bit more modern. So welcome to your room. Come inside.
Just the door itself.
So you have what's called a super king.
Yeah, super king is it's wider than it's
yeah,
long.
no, but I mean we did that on purpose because what actually we can do with guests is we can actually split the beds. So if you have a family or if you've got 2 men, 2 women who are sharing, they can actually split the beds
if they want to.
Well, depending. But these are basically, so your pool is out there. So the garden, and that garden we will be converting into a little farm. So basically we will start growing when the project is totally finished. Then we start that project where we're basically going to make that into a farm. So we will grow fruits, vegetables, etc. And so a lot of the images, so the images you've got here, for example, is taken by an Italian lady called Bruna, and Bruna basically captures nature. That's her whole thing. And what you'll see in the bathroom, we use all the traditional stones. So the bath here.
Wow.
So you'll have tomorrow when you have your treatment, you will be in a big bath. But this they put in a fruit salad, as they call it, or flowers, and basically gets dressed up. So it's part of the nice part about these baths. It's a real feature. It sits outside and you look on the river. So I'll let you settle in.
Thank you.
And then give me a call in half an hour whenever you're ready, and then we'll continue the tour.
Have you ever wondered what the places in this podcast actually look like? I have. So I started following the Radio Vagabond on Instagram, simply by searching Radio Vagabond.
I'm in the room right now, and let me just try to describe it to you. It's a fairly big room. It's, 5 by 8 meters, 15 by 25 feet. And the bed itself, it's the biggest bed I've seen. I think they call it something like an extra king-size bed. It's if you imagine 2 queen-size beds being put together, that's about the extent of it, and it's huge. Obviously, it has this grass roof, so you can look up into this handmade fabric very, very high above. So when you're lying in the bed, it's beautiful to just look up into the ceiling. It's really beautiful. John told me that they're planning to do a kind of a mosquito net over this, not for the mosquitoes, but more like this is a natural fabric, the ceiling. So small elements of it might drop down, and that's not so pleasant while you're sleeping. But this is a brand new room. It hasn't been used before. This is the first time this room is used. Okay, the bed is in one side, and opposite that there's the door to the terrace, but I'll get back to that. And then there's a nice big desk where you can sit and do some work. There's a couch. There are 2 armchairs and a small table. There's a small cabinet where there's tea on top and a boiler and a fruit basket. Next door is the bathroom, and oh my God, this is also very, very beautiful. On the back wall there are cabinets for clothes, quite big. There's a glass door to the toilet itself. Then there are 2 sinks, not just regular sinks. It's made out of it's a rock that's transformed into a sink or 2 sinks. And then the bathtub itself, it's the same. It's also a big rock that's now hollow, and you can use that as a bathtub. It's just so beautiful. There's also a shower on top of the bathtub, but you don't really need that because then you just go outside, which is what I'm doing now. There's a door from the living room, the bedroom, to the terrace, but also from the bathroom. And right outside here is an outside shower. There's just something about showering when you have the sky above you, and it's stunning. And then out here, 2 beds to lie on, and a small sofa and a table where you can sit and you can do some work. You can play cards. You can eat whatever you want. And then there's this room has its own private pool. It's a plunge pool, but it's a little bit bigger than just a normal size plunge pool. So it's absolutely beautiful. And I just love swimming here. It's kind of an infinity pool where you overlook the forest, the green area right here. It is so quiet here, except you can right now hear the carpenters hammering and banging a little bit across this field, because this is where they're constructing the biggest bridal suite is. I was almost say presidential suite.
We call it the signature suite, and the concept with that is just to give. We can go and have a look at it again. That's not 100% finished. Please come through. So this is the signature suite, and the concept in here would be that you lie here on the, let's say, the first floor, and then you lie in the bed and you overlook the river and you overlook the pool, and down here you have the lower part, you have a sofas, etc. So this was always kind of done in a bigger style. The debate was, do we either have 2 or do we have one big one? And we'll see who gets finally right. But so I mean, here the concept is that you'll lie in your bath and you look over the fields. Where in the other rooms that I'm going to take you to see, you basically sit in these baths. But that's the feature. Where our feature is more about the pool, etc. Yeah. So I mean, this has the yoga meditation area down the bottom, and so people can come down. So people can really get a good sense of what's going on. And so the land basically kind of walks all the way down to there, and that's where we're sort of going to create farming. And the beauty is that we actually have a lot of our staff are farmers. So a lot of them have said, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. So you wouldn't put rice in here because rice actually attracts quite a lot of animals.
And speaking of animals, you hear a lot of animal sounds. And there's a reason for that.
So originally, this was a jungle where you're standing. This was a block of land that was in a jungle. And I remember first time coming up here in 14 or 15, and we all went, building here?
Really?
Get real. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We looked at each other. I remember my wife looking at me going, what are you smoking? But so it's quite amazing what the Balinese can smoke. I mean, what the Balinese can do.
Yeah, but I guess you had to chop down a lot of trees as well.
I was going to get my... So, yeah, well, I mean, you know, the thing is, the chopping down the trees is not such a big issue here because reality is everything grows in 5 seconds. So, of course, you chop down a lot of trees, but you're also planting a lot of trees. So it kind of works. It's quite balanced in that sense. So this one we're standing in is a pond pool suite, we call it. So it has a bigger outdoor space in terms of your space, and it has still the pool. It still has the pond.
This is still a construction site.
Well, this one, there's 2 that are still under kind of construction, which we decided, you know, we could easily. The next few weeks, this will be finished. So I mean, everything will kind of be finished within the next few weeks, and that's why we're doing what's called a soft opening, and the soft opening sort of gives people a sense of, look, things are not 100% finished, but the main noise aspect has pretty much kind of finished. That is not so.
So the area, these. Are they called huts?
No, we call them suites.
These suites.
We call them sleeping suites. That was something because the expression villas is something that is, I say, overused in Bali. And what does a villa mean? I mean, a villa can mean a 2-bedroom. It can mean a kitchen. It can mean, you know, it can mean so many different things.
Yes.
So we have never used the expression villas. We have always said villas is not what we deal with because the villa market, from a marketing perspective, is massive. Yeah. I mean, if you type in villas, you got 14,000 villas.
Yeah.
So suites is sort of a nicer expression, and it gives you a bit more. And space-wise, you know, these ones have got, I mean, outdoor, indoor space.
Yeah, but let's just recap the one that you just locked us into.
Yes.
It's brand new. Are we the first ones?
You are actually probably the first guest. So don't go to the bed, please.
So technically, we're guinea pigs.
Sort of. Very nice gig.
Yeah.
Around the time of my visit, they were constructing the new suites. And when I was there, as you heard, they were still working on the signature suite. But even before the construction, they had guests complaining or just mentioning the construction noise. But that wasn't what it was. Here's John again.
The only complaint you get actually from guests is the noise of the river. We often get guests who say to us, you know, what's this construction noise? And we're thinking, and this was before we were constructing, and we're saying, what do you mean construction noise? There's no construction. And then, it's the geckos. So,
the ones that are going, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of part of the fun, you know, that you are. And I always say to people, we're in the jungle. I mean...
Here in the room, there's also a big folder with a lot of pages. It's called the Wellness Menu. And if I look here on page 3, the table of contents, it's got a total of 31 pages. But the contents in this wellness menu is healing massage, healing energy, embracing change, water healing. It's got colonic cleansing. And then there's the beauty sanctuary, the beauty rituals, body care, signature couples rituals, bathing rituals, facial care, nail care, and so on. There's also something for children, teens, and families. And then there's meditation, sacred arts, Balinese ceremonies, and yoga. Everything is something you can purchase if you like, but there's one thing that's complimentary every morning, and that is the yoga. I went to my first yoga class this morning.
Okay, bring those knees up nice and slow, and get ready to move your bottom to the other side. Knees to the other side. Bring the knees up. And then bring your bottom a little bit more this side, just your bottom. Yes. Then when you bring it down, now see how you're lined up. Speaking of butts, just pat your bottom all the way up to the top of it, to the waistline and down again, and hip and relax. Oh.
So, Marty, you just introduced me to my first yoga class. How was I as a student?
Your first yoga class. I can't believe it.
I've never done a real yoga class.
No, it's good. You're very adventurous, obviously.
Yeah.
And if you're usually adventurous in your mind, you're adventurous in your body, and you're willing to do movements you're not used to doing.
Yeah.
And those movements can mean everything for the health of your spine and for moving loving information around your body, energy, blood, lymph, nerves, everything.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about moving things around your body so that at the end of the yoga class you feel as if you've had a massage in warm water from someone who loves you the most. My teacher in Australia says that, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Rather than beat up or just like, oh, I had a great exercise session. No, you're like more calm, but more alive. Yeah.
And I get the sense that yoga is something that anybody can do, no matter how old you are or what your shape is.
Anyone can do it anytime, really. Even if you're in a wheelchair or you're sick or you're recovering from an operation, there's always some part of your body you can move and make more alive, unless you're obviously completely paralyzed. But, if you can just move one little finger, you can move it in a way that enlivens the whole body. But if you enliven the whole body with moving the whole body, that's quite amazing. Moving like a snake, moving like an animal. Yeah, we need more of that rather than the artificial way that we live. Sitting in chairs is very artificial. Sitting at a computer, the way the angles of our neck. Yeah, and so getting back into some primal movements, primal feelings in our body is incredibly healthy.
Yeah. And also, it's when you're a traveler, it's something you can do basically anywhere. So
you have it in your back pocket, and you can pull it out anytime you want. All you need is. I remember once when in my 20s, I traveled to the Soviet Union, and in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that wasn't Russia back then. That was the
Soviet Union. I got detained at customs for having a Vogue magazine.
Oh.
I was bringing in a suitcase full of jeans, because that was the jeans era, yes. But I remember I was so desperate to do yoga because it was quite an intense place. I loved it, but it was quite intense. And I just did it in a small bathroom not to wake up the person I was traveling with, and one foot in the bathtub, one foot on the floor, just doing the poses. And, I mean, even then you can do so much in a small space. Yeah, you just need something to sit on, maybe a wall, and you can do it anywhere. Yeah.
And I heard a rumor that you started when you were in your teens?
I started when I was about 16 doing yoga,
And been doing it ever since?
Well, I had been in a terrible accident when I was 14, a car accident. And I'd really injured myself a lot. I'd been thrown, and no one knew it because there was no blood on me. But I had completely destroyed my neck and my lower back. But everything was in pandemonium because my mother had died in that accident as well. So I was in a lot of pain, but I started these positions.
And nobody really knew how serious it was? They thought it was just bruises?
No one realized what was happening because the focus was so many other places. And so I started from little stick figures in a book, just doing it myself at night, just slowly moving my body in these simple ways, or sitting a long time with the soles of the feet together, knees open, and just feeling what happened to my body. And during that summer I did that, I actually not only made myself in less pain, but I also brought myself back from the kind of level of grief that was ready to consume me. So yoga grounded me back into the world. And for that, I was so grateful. So I continued from there.
You can actually say that it healed both your body and your soul.
It really did. It really did. I did it alone. I found teachers then from there on, but I started by myself, just feeling my way in, and my way into my body and back to life. And it made such a difference.
So you've been doing yoga ever since, so 25 years?
Almost 50 years, yes, almost 50 years now.
How did you end up here in Bali?
Oh, well, I know someone's been associated with this place for 10 years, and he thought I'd be good in this job, and so he offered it to me. Well, they offered it to me, and I said no a couple of times, and then I was persuaded.
They gave you an offer you couldn't refuse.
They gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, and here I am surrounded by, what's not to like? Bali is a pretty interesting place. It's good to live in a culture like this for a while. I mean, the Balinese culture, as little as we understand it, is pretty interesting. Yeah, and the people are calm and lovely.
One of the benefits of
of doing yoga as much as you've been doing is that you are much more flexible. Has that come in handy at some point in your life?
Yes, it has. It comes in handy every day for just how you sit, how you stand, everything. But a few months ago, I was in northern Bali with an Australian friend who has some guest houses up there in the rice fields. And the Balinese burn off their extra leaves and things. But we noticed across the way, across this little rice field, was quite a raging fire. It was the dry season, so and so we checked it out, us ladies sitting there, and it was really a raging fire. So we grabbed pots and pans and ran over there, and luckily there was a little concreted-in stream going by the hillside that was on fire, and this big, massive tree about to just go into full flames, and but you had to, we were a little high up over the stream, so you had to reach down into the stream. So I jumped down into the stream, planted my feet on both sides, facing the way the water was flowing, and I was able to scoop up the water and throw it.
So you're squatting down, scooping down.
I'm like half squatting down, leaning forward. But because I'm so used to using my spine as a very strong vehicle to unfold into all the poses, rather than a straight spine, it was a rounded spine, so that you can really get into your center, your guts, your strength. And I was able to almost single-handedly put that fire out because it was such an awkward way to lift a heavy weight of water in a bucket, and I was able to do it endlessly, and it just felt like a massage. So it was really wonderful, and I just thought, not for the first time, but really in a very strong way, that yoga works and yoga is useful.
The yoga place almost looks like a spaceship. It's a round, teepee-like room with a hole in the top of a grass roof, or rather, alang-alang, the byproduct from rice production that John talked about earlier.
How tall is it?
26 meters.
26 meters, and it's a grass roof like the rest of it?
So alang-alang. And it takes them about 6 weeks. So the construction, the fundamental system, how it was built, if you think of a spaceship taking off, but I mean a tall spaceship, then the air conditioning system basically works on a natural sense, so that the air moves through so you'll see there's two entrances, two openings, and of course it's total bamboo. And when you stand inside,
it's total bamboo.
Total bamboo. Everything is apart from, of course, the alang-alang. But when you go inside it, so we're just in the process of finishing this off. But it's an absolutely gorgeous space.
Yeah, and you could if you could also imagine a giant teepee. You have this feeling it's a round room, and if there's a hole in the. Is there a hole?
Yes, there's a hole. So the air fundamentally comes through the holes up there, or comes through these openings. So the air circulates in here. So what you always note is on a hot day, it's actually always cooler in here. It's kind of just how the air works. And the beauty is, of course, I mean, when they do yoga in here, I mean, lying here in this space is just another different ball game. And we often have students, hotel school students, who come, and one of the things I always talk to them about is working. I mean, one of the things that we have the pleasure of in most hotels is actually, well, in a lot of hotels, not most hotels, but in a lot of hotels, we have the pleasure of working in these amazing spaces. And I remember kind of many years back in my life and having worked in Hong Kong when I was at Grand Hyatt Hong Kong, and the lobby is this wonderful, wonderful space that Bob and Oscar created, that Bilke and Linus, the architects, created. And when I was running a hotel school in China, I was teaching. One of the subjects I was teaching was food and beverage, and we talked about space in a restaurant and spaces. And I said to these students, I said, what I was standing in, I was the lobby duty manager in the morning. We all took shifts where we had to stand and say hello and goodbye to guests. And these Germans kept walking in. And I said, oh, can I help you? And these Germans, they were like, no. And they would look, doch. And, doch. And then, thank you, goodbye. And I'm thinking, what? This is weird. Oh, whatever. So it happened 3 or 4 times, and I thought, this is really strange. It's now happened quite a few days in a row. So I said to the German GM, I said, Mr. Yentis, I've noticed these people who keep coming in, and they're all, I said, nothing against them, but you're one. I said, there's all these Germans who keep coming in. And he goes, what? And I said, yeah, those Germans keep coming in, and they look at the lobby, and they go, yeah, doch, and then they leave. And he goes, oh, it worked. And I said, what worked? And he goes, it's in the Berlitzguide. I said, what's in the Berlitzguide, the hotel? He goes, no, it's the lobby.
It's in the what?
The Berlitzguide.
Oh.
And he said, it's in the Berlitzguide, the lobby. And I said, what about the rest of the hotel? He said, no, it's the lobby. So he put it in, he got it into the Berlitzguide and as one of the things to visit in Hong Kong. So you had all these Germans coming in. So my two students, one was an Italian student and one was from Czechostan or one of these places in Russia. They then went to Hong Kong for a weekend. They came back into class Monday morning and they came into the class and the first thing they said, it's true, Mr. Nielsen. And I said, excuse me, what's true? And they said, it is an amazing lobby. And I said, I thought, what were they on about? They said, we went to Grand Hyatt Hong Kong and we saw the lobby and we walked out again. I said, oh my God. And they said, it's so true. It's this gorgeous, beautiful lobby. And so I always say to students that one of the things that we probably don't appreciate so much when we work in hotels is we don't appreciate the space. But actually architects and interior designers have created these amazing spaces that we work in. And whether you're in the peninsula in Hong Kong or you're in one of the grand hotels in Europe, you're in these gorgeous spaces that we have to kind of respect. And for me, this space is definitely one of them. I mean, it's so beautifully done, and it's just to be in here, to do yoga in here, and you'll do yoga in one of the smaller ones that we'll go and see. But it's still the same feel because you're in this natural space where you're doing it, and it is, for me, it's one of the more gorgeous aspects, and this is a real signature, a hallmark of the place. And we have done. I mean, they've done TEDx in here. They've done a variety of conferences in here, and conferences kind of work well in here. They're the alternative conferences, but that's why the other room where we were standing before, the culinary space or the function space, will actually give us a great alternative because it's the problem of not having a designated function space, because it's not, one has to be realistic, it's not everybody who wants to sit in an alternative space. People sometimes are more traditional and want to sit in a space where it's air conditioned, and if it's 20 guys, they may not want to sit in this space. They may, but often we've had Google had a conference here, and they wanted the alternative space. That's why they came here.
Yeah.
They wanted that. And the main speaker walked in, and he came in, and we were standing, and he says, "Oh my God." And I looked at him, and I'm thinking, "Oh God, what have we done wrong?" And immediately you have a negative mind. But so he goes to me, "I don't have to wear a suit. I love it." and he came in, and I said, "No, come in shorts if you want." He said, "I don't care." And the guy turned up next day in shorts and looked like he was going to the beach.
And flip-flops.
Yeah. And he said, "I love it." He said, and he said to everybody, he said when they came, he said, "Everybody, you do not turn up in a suit. I don't want any formalities here." And people sat on the floor, and they sat, and they really embraced it. And I think that, and he said to me, and I think their conference was called Embracing Change or something like that. And that's why they had kind of selected the space. But it is a beautiful space.
As I'm walking around with John, I'm carrying a microphone, trying to record what he's saying, and at the same time wanting to take pictures everywhere. It's just so Instagrammable.
There's just a picture wherever I look. There's
and that's kind of how it was designed.
God.
I mean, it was designed very much, and I mean, we talk about trees. I mean, there's so much vegetation, and of course, the beauty is in Bali is that everything kind of grows very well here, and so this is only in the early stages of the growth aspect, and I mean, this has all been planted, and once this grows, then the shade will come, and so to begin with, of course, your trees are brought in, and they are still getting their roots, and they're still finding their feet, if one can say. But generally speaking, the root systems take the time, but it grows very fast. I mean, everything jumps up very quickly here, and with the garden that we're standing in front of at the moment. So this is a farmland that goes all the way down to the river, and what we are trying to do at the moment is to set a plan up with the owner where we'll rent it, and then we'll put it as a live farm in here. So we will have flowers, vegetables, etc.
You mentioned the staff. How big is the staff? How many people?
So I have about 75 staff. It's a lot on a scale, a normal scale. The challenge in a normal hotel world, if I can use that expression, you tend to say in a luxury hotel, you tend to have 1 to 1.5 to 2 per room. But of course, I mean, that's an old, kind of an old model. But the reason you But of course, that changes dramatically here because you physically don't have, from a housekeeping perspective. So a simple way of saying in housekeeping in a normal hotel, a normal Radisson hotel that stands up, it takes them 25 minutes, 24 minutes to clean the room. And then they take the trolley and go to the next room. But of course here we don't do that because going from one room to another room is a much bigger exercise. And I mean, in a normal hotel you don't have mosquito nets in the room. Suddenly putting mosquito nets in is another equation to it. So it's your whole way of working. And also what we have to remember here is that we have a lot more ceremony days. And ceremony days is effectively where the Balinese staff have to take off and go and pray. So it's one of these, you actually have to think about that. So when you're planning, and efficiencies in Bali are not really so bad, but it's purely all these holidays that you've got to take in that suddenly just snowballs. And of course we don't have staff who are we don't have a very small percentage of our staff are hourly waged. Majority of them are full-time employees. So majority of them are here working the whole time. And again, majority come from the village. And of course, we have a lot of women. There's a big percentage of the staff are women, so of course they have babies, etc., etc. So you kind of always have to compensate and take into consideration.
So are we talking almost the same number of days off as in Denmark?
More probably, even
more. Really?
Well, because you have the annual ceremonies is 26 ceremonies in a year. So talking to 2 every month, yeah. So this is a space that's not completed yet, but this will either be a function space or the culinary school.
The what?
A culinary plant-based school.
Uh-huh.
So we're looking at that at the moment. It's still sort of a bit of a work in progress.
But it's going to be, as far as I can see behind it's going to be quite a big room.
It's a good size room. I mean, you can see good size. Yeah, good size. I mean, you can do probably from a culinary school. We can do about 16 students, but it'll be a proper like a hotel school.
You didn't have a fixed plan for it?
No, we did, and that was the whole thing. And then just with the investments of the owners, they kind of started assessing things and said, can we just take step and take a process of how far do we go with it? So they kind of went, look, at the moment we just want to get the first part of the project. And look, I'm not against that. I think you're better off focusing on getting this all open, this working, and then you go to your next part of the process. And look, everybody, we've done the business plan, everybody kind of is in agreement, but they're just kind of going, at the end of the day, we're running a business and everybody has to make money. And I mean, a function room will be a lot more easy to say, let's go for it. A culinary school, you're talking having to make sure there's 8 to 10 students every day. There's a different numbers, and it's different employment. You got to employ a culinary chef who is a teacher. And having run the hotel school for about 4 years, I have an intimate understanding and knowledge of how hotel schools and how culinary schools work and operate. So for me, it's a logic thing. But when you got to do your numbers, and ultimately this space it's a magical space because it takes in the river. So as a student or as an event, you're looking over the river. And in reality, we don't really have function space. We have, as you will see, the mandalas. But they're not really function spaces. They're beautiful space where you can do alternative things. We don't actually have a formalized function space. So this is also why we're kind of debating we may be better doing this because it will attract a different market and your revenues and your net profits from functions are pretty, on the average, pretty good.
We also took a walk in the original part of the retreat. As mentioned, they started with 9 eco-luxury sleeping suites set along the river. These suites are lofty, alang-alang roofed ceilings, breezy interiors, and recycled timber flooring.
And when you go outside, you of course can hear the river, the Ayung River raging, and here is your bath.
Yeah, there's a bath outside here.
So this is
my God.
So this is fundamentally the what we call the river stone. So these river stones, they come from Java, and they are volcanic river stone that they go and they pick. So we had an environmentalist who we worked with many years ago, Gove, and Gove basically went there and he picked all the various aspects of the stone, and that's what they made the molds out of. So the whole concept is you sit in these baths and you look over and you hear the raging of the river. Another big feature is the bathrooms that we'll walk towards that are very much open. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you open up and you have your natural bathrooms.
On our way to the big pool, we pass a smaller pool where they do a very unique water healing treatment. Have a listen to this.
And so we have a treatment which is a water healing treatment. And you basically lie in the pool with an instructor and he moves you around. And it's actually an American system, and Michael, who does the treatment, who's one of the world's leading Watsu instructors and Watsu practitioners, he learned this technique in California, and that's how it kind of started.
How long time does that? Because I read about it, I saw it on the videos.
Yeah, it's a 90-minute.
90 minutes.
90, so it's about an hour and a little bit.
Because I guess it takes some time before you really get down into that feeling of being in the womb, kind of the feeling.
That's what you feel, and you lie there, and you got music under, and you basically lie there, and you go into a trance, and they move you around, and because it's warm, I mean you're fine. So it's all about that balance that you lie in there, and it's quite gorgeous. I mean, it's an amazing feeling, and I mean I've done a lot of the treatments, but that's one of the more unique ones, I have to say, and one of those. And I mean we're one of there's I think 3 places in Bali that offer it, and we're one of the sort of the more recognised ones. So it's pretty cool. And there's now more and more instructors who are coming through. Mardi can do it, but she's not. She doesn't really profess herself to do it. We've got a new girl starting in, a French girl. She's much more of an instructor in it, so she will be able to help a lot more with it. Because sometimes it's also limited by who can do it. Yeah. If you haven't got the right instructor, well, I can't do it because it's a certain technique.
Yeah, and you, as an instructor, you don't want to lose focus, and all of a sudden the customer gets underwater.
It has to be said, they do wear floating devices, so you but still, it doesn't look good when you trying to resuscitate somebody. So this is the pool.
Oh,
and
wow!
So again, part of the renovation, we redid the whole flooring. After 10 years, a lot of the flooring was a bit buggered. So we redid the whole flooring. We had tiles that were broken in the pool. All the lighting was completed. So a lot of this stuff was basically kind of put back to work. So now we have a pool that has lights and all the tiles work. And we even had to get rid of one of the trees here because it was becoming a bit dangerous with the coconuts, etc., that were falling down. And again, it doesn't look so great when you have a person being hit by a coconut. Can be a bit painful.
You can do without the headlines.
I mean, we don't heat. We have a solar, but we don't really use it because the pool never really gets cold.
And again, there's a patio here on top of the river.
And this is the beauty. I mean, here you're sitting, here you're lying, and the only view you have is of the river.
If travel is your passion, and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, you can travel vicariously from the comfort of your own home. This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
John, it's the last day here. Unfortunately, I'd like to stay a bit longer.
We can extend it for a couple of months.
Yeah, no I was just glancing through in the room the wellness menu. It's 30-some pages of just treatment after treatment. Can you tell me a little bit about how this became so extensive?
Well, we offer an Oxford dictionary as a translator tool. But fundamentally, when the place was founded, Kiko and Lara, who founded the place 10 years ago, really wanted to make Balinese healing a key driving topic through the retreat. So in those days when they started, Kiko had gone through a number of experiences with healings in Bali, and so had become quite sort of not obsessed by any means, but had become really fascinated by the healing aspects of Bali. And Lara had kind of seen a number of things also. So in their lives, they had, on that journey, by meeting each other in Bali, they had come across the healing and seen what effects it has on people. So when they created it, that was a key part of it. And the local village where we are in Batu Rening has a lot of those healers that live here. So along with the food, the key components becomes that the healthy living, but also that people who have maybe problems, people who have stress, people who have inner issues that is not fixed with eating a pill, healing becomes then a driving force of what you do. And so that was kind of what laid the basis for everything that we do in this place.
You planned that we should get a treatment here, but out of the many treatments you have, which one is it that we're getting?
What's called a Sakti ritual. And the Sakti ritual kind of combines a number of the traditional therapies, and you also end up in one of our beautiful baths, into the Riverstone bath, where you will have the gorgeous fruits and vegetables and salads almost inside, but just don't eat it. In the bath, and you'll sit there after the treatment. So you have an hour and a half deep massage, and then you will, and so that you screw scrubbing. So you will walk out looking like a new boy. But no, it's quite. I mean, people who do it. Brad, the chef who you met on Saturday. I mean, Brad had that treatment, and he said he felt like a different person afterwards, because the scrubbing is wonderful.
Yeah, that was just before we met him, and he looked good.
He looked good. I mean, you should have seen him before.
So, as John decided, this was how I ended my stay at Fivelements Bali Retreat, sitting in an outdoor bathtub filled with fruits and vegetables, overlooking the river after a wonderful massage. It couldn't have been more perfect. Obviously, during the pandemic, they've had a slow 2020, but they're open now. So if you're in Bali, or if you're able to get to the island when the borders are open again after the pandemic, you should treat yourself and your significant other to a stay here. I'm not sure what the normal day rate is here, but it's probably a bit lower right now because of COVID. You see, I just did a quick search and found that a stay at Fivelements Bali Retreat will set you back around $110, 91 euros per night, including breakfast. I think that's a surprisingly low price for all that luxury. Those rates are if you book directly on FiveelementsBali.com. If you go through the Radio Vagabond's normal sponsor, Hotels25.com, you can actually save around 15%, so it gets even cheaper. That's it for this episode from Bali. In the blog post on theradiovagabond.com, you can find a lot of pictures and a few videos, and all the links you need. In the few days, we'll start the next season from North America, and I'm so looking forward to that. My name is Palapo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.